What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and tomorrow is the beginning of the group stage. We have 8 games in the World's 2021 main event. Very exciting. So in this video, we're going to go through each matchup. The amount of time spent on each matchup is purely at my discretion. Some of them will get extra research. Some of them will not get much research at all. That's just how it works. We'll also be going through the bets that I think I'll be making. And then we're going to talk about the King of the Rift tournament that I'm in on DraftKings. You have to qualify for this. I have 1 seat. You can have a maximum of 3 seats. Yeah, I didn't really chase seats too hard. A lot of the guys that I talked to about League of Legends have 3 seats, and a couple of my supporters have multiple seats. So good luck to everybody in the tournament. We'll discuss that later on in the video. So let's get the lines up on the screen. Again, I use Bet365. Let's see. Is that the first match? The first match is Damwon. Why is that not up there? Match lines. Did they take down that line? Why would they do that? All right. Great start. Great start. Let me log in and see if that changes anything. And I'll check on my phone. That is not good. I have it on my phone. 1. Why do I have it on my phone but not on my screen? Well, that makes no sense. All right. So I'll put it back over here. Like I said, I have it on my phone. So Damwon is plus 100. And FPX is minus 138. That means that FPX is the favorite. I thought somebody mentioned on my video yesterday that they saw FPX listed as a favorite, or as the underdog. So I guess it's not necessarily true. Not sure what's going on there. So let's go lane by lane and discuss the matchup. So obviously we had the top laners swap teams. We had Khan go to Damwon Gaming, and we had Nuguri go to FPX. Nuguri is the better player. Nuguri is a little bit more flexible as a top laner, and is the better Kennen player. So I think that it'll be very important in that matchup. Meaning Kennen will be important in that matchup. In the jungle, Canyon against Tian. I think that Canyon is just an all-around better player. Tian did have a pretty good playoff run, but a lot of that came down to good Viego play. And as we saw in the play-in stage, there's not nearly as many Viegos being played. So let's just get up some scoreboards just to remember some of the champions. So let's go to round 2. And this was the elimination stuff. Okay, so talent. Lee Sin is back in play, so I know that Tian is a good Lee Sin player. I don't really expect him to play Lilia. He could be an assassin player, but I think that Canyon's probably more likely to have the expansive champion pool. If we get into a situation where Graves is good, then Canyon's going to be much better than Tian. Tian was pretty bad in that meta specifically. For Olaf, not really an extremely difficult champion to play. It just depends on how good your team is at snowballing, and I think that Canyon on Olaf is probably better than Tian on Olaf. Jarvan, not really a super skillful champion at the pro level. Your job is to be an engaged champion. That's like about it. Like you could theoretically get very strong and snowball, but that's not really why you're picking the Jarvan. Nidalee, Lee Sin. So if it's Nidalee, Canyon's better at Nidalee than Tian is as well. The Viego came in. I don't expect to see much Viego. Xin Zhao, again, I would just expect Canyon's better basically at every champion, except for maybe Lee Sin, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were better at Lee Sin as well. In the mid lane, we have Showmaker against Duanby. This is a very interesting matchup. I think that they are two of the best mid laners in the world, for sure. They're two of the best, and more so than being two of the best mid laners in the world, they're two of the best League of Legends players in the world. And the reason why I wanted to make that distinction is because they bring so many intangibles and like their deep understanding of the game. Their champion pools, they always have the ability to pull out something not unexpected. They're both roaming mid laners, which shows that they have a very good feel for the game and like are an integral part in helping get their junglers ahead, helping get into the side lanes, helping control objectives, helping to control objectives. So I really don't think there's a huge difference there. The important thing is that Duanby is probably more likely to get off a good counter pick than Showmaker is, and both of them run the risk of locking in a mid laner that is going to get countered. So I don't. It's obviously extremely difficult to think about how they're going to approach the draft phase. I don't know if we know who's red and blue. I think I would just prefer whichever team is on red side, and I don't know how like when they make that determination. The reason I would want red side is because there are a lot of flexible champions that could go between top and mid, and if one team is lazy during the draft, they can get countered pretty hard in the mid lane, and whichever mid laner grabs control of that lane and has priority is going to be able to impact the jungle and the side lanes more easily. Just something to keep in mind. And then in the bot lane, I personally I don't like either bot lane. I think that they're both of their bot lanes are extremely weak relative to the rest of the team. Like they get carried basically by the rest of their teams. Sometimes they get put into good situations where they have extremely good KDAs because they won a laning phase or something like that. But that's not the difficult aspect of League of Legends. When you're in a winning position, you should be getting a bunch of kills as an AD carry. And if you were not the one creating that advantage, then you don't really deserve to be the one getting all of the praise just because you had a bunch of kills in the late game. So with that being said, I think that if we go back to... if we go back here, we haven't seen as many hyper carries as I think we will in the future. We've seen a lot of utility AD carries. We've seen a lot of Ezreal. We've seen like Ezreal, Lucian, and Misfortune, I think, are probably the three most popular right now. And in those trades, it does matter how aggressive the team is willing to be. We did see some Aphelios, so Peace and Red Cannons both played the Aphelios. If Vayne is actually in play, I guess that could be a benefit for LWX. I think he's a pretty good Vayne player. But I don't expect the bot lanes to try and create an advantage like level 1, level 2, all-inning each other. It's just not likely. I think both teams kind of know that they're better off waiting until they have like additional players in the bot lane before they start trying to make crazy plays down there. Both teams have been pretty generic with the supports that they're playing, but I guess we should take a look at that because that could be important. If one of the teams just lazily picks like a brain dead engaged champion in the bot lane, they could get countered with an enchanter. So we see a Karma. That's about it. Oh, whoops, wrong one. Seraphine. Yumi, Lulu. All right, so that's good. I think that does favor Damwon. So I think the support role, the jungle role, both favor Damwon. Top lane favors FPX. Mid lane is going to be draft dependent. AD carry is going to be draft dependent. Personally, I like Damwon Gaming here. I think that it's obviously not a game that you want to overexpose yourself to on DraftKings or on the sportsbook, because you have two teams that could very easily go into a lower kill type of game, especially if Showmaker and Doinby are both on champions that are like shoving the lane and trying to move into the side lanes. It might force both teams to be pretty passive. I mean, it could be explosive, but it's more likely to be passive, I think, in that situation. So for that match, when I put in my bet tomorrow, I will most likely have a bet on Damwon Gaming. I just think that they are better in the jungle, which has been very important. I guess top lane. I think that the play-in stage, the one thing that we should probably watch out for is not paying too much attention to how those games kind of played out, because the difference of strength in top laners is very visible between regions, and like their play styles and their ability to play carry champions to a very high level. Like these two top laners, even though Khan isn't thought of as highly as he used to be, he was once considered the best top laner in the world. So he is much better at he's much better at playing from losing positions than most of the wildcard top laners. So I don't expect it to really get way too far out of hand. It's always possible in any League of Legends games for that to happen, but that's not something that I would expect to happen. So that's enough for the first match. Like I said, I'm going with Damwon. Second game, we have RNG against PSG Talon. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with PSG from an ownership perspective, because I think some players will be very afraid due to the failure of Beyond Gaming. And I know that they have all the controversy surrounding their mid laner. But it seemed like such an easy spot to attack. So now I'm in a spot where I'm kind of feeling like I want to bet on PSG Talon just for that reason alone. I think that people are more likely to say to themselves, oh, well, RNG is such a good team. They played so well at MSI. You know, they're from China. They're just a better team overall than PSG Talon. How is PSG Talon going to be able to compete with them head-to-head? And I guess that's what we should try to figure out right now. So, Xiaohu against Hanabi. Xiaohu is the better player. River against Wei. Wei is probably the better player, but River and Maple are a very strong duo. So I think that PSG could definitely win in the mid-jungle duo. Let's just make sure we like the champion pool. A lot of Udyr. So that was from a long time ago, probably. Lee Sin, Olaf, Diana. So very good at Diana. Very good at Xin Zhao, which is good. Nidalee. Don't really care about the Volibear. Lilia. We could see a decent amount of Lilia from them. That would be pretty interesting. Talia. So two of the new champions. Well, two of the champions that we might see more of now than before. That's interesting. Does Wei play those champions as well? I feel like he plays Lilia. Am I remembering that? Yeah, he does play Lilia. This could be a very different looking game. 9-2 on Lilia. Same with Udyr. Obviously still good at Xin Zhao, Nidalee. Graves. I wonder how that would go. I think that's very interesting, because like they both they both play Lilia. They both play a lot of Udyr when Udyr was strong, and that just means that they're willing to pivot onto strong champions for the rest of their team. That's a lot of Lilia games. Olaf. Let's take a look at River. Where else did he play? Talon. V3 AHQ. I want to bet on PSG Talon just because I think that plus 240 is kind of insane for a best of one. And then we would just be depending on the sportsbook overrating China. And I am playing with house money at this point, so I might do that. In the mid lane, we have Cryan against Maple. When both players were in the LPL, Cryan had a really good split. They're both control mage players. I think that Maple is just more versatile. Let's see. Do I expect either of them? This might be a situation where we don't get to see like Tryndamere, Aurelia, stuff like that. Actually, maybe I guess it would be more likely for Maple to be the one playing it. We do have some AD champions here. So that makes me feel like they're probably able to pivot onto the other AD champions. That's probably one of the first things they tried out. You have a lot of low range champions right here. Cryan's more of a control mage player in general. Does have a decent number of games on the Renekton, but we don't really want to see Renekton mid. It feels weird trying to give the priority in the mid lane over to Maple and saying that he's a better player, but it might be true. And then we have Unified, who replaced Doggo. With Kaiwing. Unified and Kaiwing had an okay Worlds last time. I think Gala's overrated. Just get rid of the Kaisa, and I think that they'll be fine. I just feel like I hope I'm not convincing myself of something that's like unlikely to happen in the game. Like if they're playing I want Gala to be on Ezreal. I want Gala to be on Misfortune. I could also see RNG picking something like Lucian and flexing it. 15-0 on Aphelios, 10-0 on Kaisa. So this is a spot where both teams have priority on Lilia. Both teams have priority on Kaisa. I wonder if they're willing to play it. I think I want to pick PSG here. And and again, this isn't because I think that PSG is the more probable to win. I just think that at plus 240, they only have to win like 30-something% of the time for it to be a bet that breaks even, right? So, like right around 30%. And it seems like so much more draft dependent than the line would suggest. So if the game can be won in the draft from either team, then it should be a lot closer to a 50-50. And then you just kind of coin flip it. That means I have like between 10 to 20%. I have 10 to 20% of a better chance to win than the sportsbook really thinks that I do. And it's probably difficult for them to incentivize bettors to get money down onto PSG. So I think that I kind of just want to play PSG. So that's my pick for now. Hanwha Life against Fnatic. I already know which side I'm going to be on here. I'm going to pick Hanwha Life like every time. I guess we should do I do think RNG against PSG could be very explosive, especially if there are a lot of overlapping champion pools, because they should both know how to attack each other's weaknesses that come out of the draft. Like, this is the kind of game that you could use in a large field GPP, but people aren't going to play this in the King of the Rift tournament, I don't think. That seems really sketchy to me. You would probably want to get in some of the bigger favorites, or like the bigger mismatches, and just hope that those play out the way that you would expect them to. Rogue against C9, Team Liquid against Mad. That's funny. Those are tough games to convince yourself to bet as well. I mean, I know for a fact that some people are going to pick Mad Lions over Team Liquid for this tournament. That just seems so sketchy to me. So Fnatic, let's just go to Fnatic against Hanwha Life. All right, Fnatic against Hanwha Life. So, in the top lane, we have Adam against Morgan. I'm sure people think that Adam is somehow better than Morgan. I know that Morgan didn't have a great play-in stage statistically, but 2-2-5 against Liang, 3-1-14 against Liang, and then 1-2-5 against Liang. Low kill score games. That would be more of a low kill score game in the third game. 3-1-14. 17 out of 26 isn't horrible. Chovy only was 7 out of 26. They have a lot of shit happening all over the map. I guess it's probably tough for people to feel good about playing Hanwha Life because of how they kind of split up the map and like don't have highly correlated kill participation for their teammates. That is going to scare people off of them in that tournament. But I definitely think that Hanwha Life is the better side here. So Morgan, like I said, Morgan against Adam. I think Morgan's a better player. Bwipo against Willer. I like Bwipo a lot. I think that Willer did show some pretty good upside in the elimination round against Beyond Gaming. I don't expect them to go 12-2-8 against Fnatic, but it is possible. Yeah, I think I like Willer more than Bwipo. But the thing about Bwipo is that they're going to do a good job researching Hanwha Life's champion pools and trying to come up with like a good strategy to deal with a lot of their champions. Fnatic has also had the opportunity to watch Hanwha Life in this scenario. So there's that. That is important. It's not going to make me move off of them, but it is definitely important. Niski against Chovy. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. If you want to pick Niski over Chovy, do what you want to do, but Chovy's the better player for sure. Deft against Upset. I think this is probably the spot where people are going to have the biggest difference in opinion is for Upset and Hillsong against Deft and Vista. People are going to say that Upset and Hillsong are just outright better than them. It's so difficult to create like these gigantic advantages when you have utility carries being played in the bot lane. Like, I just don't expect it to be extremely explosive down there. If it did happen, it would be more likely that Fnatic sends additional resources into the bot lane and tries to just blow up the game that way. I guess it seems somewhat predictable just from my perspective, but you know, you need Hanwha Life to react appropriately and like actually build their team composition around it and then react to it in the game. My phone just got rid of the Damwon Gaming line as well. Why is that happening? I gotta talk to these people on Twitter and see what the hell's going on. So there's that. I mean, anybody who watches my videos knew that I was going to pick Hanwha Life on that one. Maybe it's an oversight, but I mean, DraftKings has him as an underdog. Like, that's crazy to me. I'm not going to play Hanwha Life in this event because I think that the low correlation for kill participation is kind of scary. Like, even if they win, they could give you a not good enough performance. Although against Fnatic, it's probably one of the best spots that they're going to have from a DraftKings perspective. Because if they win, that's just like, I do expect Fnatic to try to continuously fight them. Another thing to watch out for is if Fnatic completely changes their playstyle in order to react to what Halma-Life is doing. That's, in my opinion, that's a negative. I'm not saying that they're going to do that. I'm saying watch out for that, because it would tell you a lot about their mentality going into these drafts. If your team is reacting to drafts instead of having like a very strong game plan that is not completely agnostic of the enemy team, but is like picked with the intention of working together instead of responding to what the enemy team is doing, like they're just generally better team compositions with a more clear direction in the game. So let's go to the next game. Gen G's not on the sportsbook right now. What is up with this thing? I gotta yell at them on Twitter right now before I forget. Okay, so I sent out that message. Hopefully they get back to me on that one. All right, Gen G against LNG. Again, I think people know exactly what I'm going to say in this game as well. Let's go back, and I'll try to explain why. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not guaranteed that it's not guaranteed that the game will go like the LNG Hanwha-Life game. But if you watch that game, Hanwha-Life should have won that game. They were in a winning position, and they also had a couple of like just missed opportunities in the top lane because of Willer and Morgan. But if you look at how their drafts changed as time went on, they had Willer on Sejuani. I'm pretty sure that was the last game that we saw on a bad jungler. Like, Sejuani is a jungler that has a very specific role. It's not the kind of role that you want your jungler to be playing if your jungler is Willer. Like, I just don't know why you would do that. It was just such a kind of head-scratching pick. Maybe it was something they picked specifically with LNG in mind, but like, you're playing against one of the best junglers in the world. Why would you hamstring your jungler? It just doesn't make any sense. Once Willer started playing like carry champions and Lee Sin, just had a much better tournament overall. So I guess for those of you who are very skeptical of like Willer's ability to play against a top level jungler, because I'm not saying Willer's better than Tarzan. Tarzan's a better jungler than Willer. But I'd be interested in seeing LNG's win rates against like against AP junglers, like against Lilia, against Talia, Lilia, Nidalee, Talia. Because it is a little different. Like, Tarzan is at his peak, or at least was at his peak when he was playing more of Graves' game. That's kind of scary. That There's going to be pressure on the draft because of Talia. Is Genji going to... Genji's not... I don't think Genji's going to play Talia. Let's see. That's important. This does scare me, actually. This is I'm gonna pick Genji here, regardless. But let's go through the lane by lane. So Ale against Rascal. I think that Ale did have a very good play-in stage, but it's just like you're beating up on bad players. Rascal's not a bad player. You can get into good matchups against Rascal if the draft goes poorly, but Ale against Morgan against Rascal. I mean, Rascal might just be the best player out of all three of them. Can play the Camille. 7 and 6, not great. 12 and 3 on Renekton. Do I expect him to play Renekton? Renekton's bad in some of these matchups. We don't see any Kennen. We do see some Kennen. So 2 games of Kennen. Do we see Jax? No. I'd be really surprised if Ale was like head and shoulders above Rascal. I think I'm definitely going with Genji here. So in the top lane, I think that it's public perception going against public perception. In the jungle, I think that Tarzan is definitely better than Clid. Actually, let's go to... Let's see when Tarzan was in Korea on Griffin. Yeah, so 2019. Yeah, 2019 is when they were really good. So let's go to 2019 LCK. That's the wrong one. (2019) summer playoffs. I think Clid was on T1 at this point. Yeah. Yeah, this is what you want to take a look at. So look at this roster. Doran, so Doran is very similar skill level to Rascal, I think, against Khan. So this is when Khan was considered one of the best top laners in the world. You had Clid playing up against Tarzan. So they were able to go head-to-head with Tarzan when Griffin was at their peak. That's a very important thing to keep in mind. And this is also when they had Viper and Chovy. Think about that. Chovy is thought of as one of the best mid laners in the world. Viper is thought of as one of the best AD carries in the world. Tarzan is thought of as one of the best junglers in the world. Still. And this is 2 years ago. And Faker, Clid, Teddy, and Khan were able to take them down. Now, obviously, they could be at different points in their career. But they're very similar players. And this is the kind of stuff that you would see from Tarzan. You would see, like, a Sejuani, you'd see Elise. You're not getting champions that are like overly difficult to play. you're getting champions that depend on the player understanding like the flow of the game, finding the weaknesses of the enemy team, and being able to exploit those from like a positional perspective, and then just like understanding power levels. So like, and, I mean, we didn't see as many carry junglers at this point, anyways. Xin Zhao, Camille Kha'Zix, okay, Talia. This is where I think the big edge is going to come in regards to like the sports book, is people undervaluing, or people giving Tarzan too much credit. Tarzan is one of the best junglers in the world. I'm not saying that he isn't. I genuinely think that he's one of the best junglers in the world. But Clid is very underrated at this point. So I think that is very important. Let's go to the next one. Icon against BDD. BDD is better than Icon, just straight up. Icon has had a good year, and this is probably the best that Icon has ever looked. I would still take BDD 100% over Icon. And then the bot lane, we have Light and Awandi against Ruler and Life. The best player in this bot lane is Ruler. Ruler is better than Light. That doesn't mean that LNG can't win a game against Gen.G, or that they can't win a bot lane. But just the best player in this match is Ruler. The second best player is probably Tarzan, and it's very close between Tarzan and Ruler. The third best player is probably BDD. And then it's kind of everybody else. And like, some people will want to give a lot of credit to Ale. Some people will want to give a lot of credit to Icon or Light. But a lot of that is based off of recent performance and not long-term talent. Like, Ale is not thought of as one of the most talented top laners in the world. Icon is definitely not thought of as one of the top talents in the mid lane. Theoretically, I mean, I guess Light has pretty good upside as an AD carry, but I still don't think that anyone would say Light is one of the best AD carries in the world. And we know for a fact that Ruler is one of the best AD carries in the world. And again, if the draft goes with like Gen.G playing a late game champion and Light getting a utility AD carry with extra pressure in the laning phase, gets additional resources from Tarzan coming down into the bot lane, like it's not easy, but it's easy to see the path that LNG could take to neutralize Ruler and like win the game. It's just, do I think that's going to happen? Do I think that Gen.G is going to be completely unprepared for that? No, of course not. They've had enough time. And it's the reverse of the last game, where Gen.G is the one with the benefit of watching LNG during play-ins. They're going to know that Tarzan is able to play Qiyana at a high level. And Tarzan did look very good at Qiyana. So that means that Gen.G is either going to let them pick the Qiyana and have a plan with how to deal with it, or they're going to ban it. So just something to watch out for. T1 against DFM. Detonation Focus Me. The boys of Detonation Focus Me. I love me some Detonation Focus Me. They won me some cash money by winning their group. So let's go lane by lane again. So Kana against Eevee. Kana is the better player. Kana, it always has the chance of having a breakout tournament. Kana, even when they were going up against Khan and Noguri in the last year's MSI, was it MSI? He played out of his mind. Like, he had a really good split. He had a really good year last year with a ton of solo kills in the top lane, which is pretty surprising in general when that happens. But like, they were just playing out of their mind. They had like that Vladimir game at MSI, which was very good. Wunner and Cuz. I'm assuming Wunner is the one that is starting, but I don't know for sure. Steel had a good performance, so people are going to have like good feelings towards Steel right now. I wouldn't say that they're better than Wunner yet, but I don't have a great feel for Wunner. Faker against Arya. Faker is the better player. Arya is a talented player, and I think that they have good upside. I'm not ready to say, oh yeah, they're going to play against Faker and they're going to win that game easily. Let's get a little bit of a reminder of what they did. Not the main event. I want my answers. Why are the lines not here? Tell me. Detonation focused me. Delilia. Xinjiao. Oriana. This is not going to happen against T1. Eevee is not going to destroy Kana. I don't think Udapon... I think this is where we're going to see Udapon kind of fall off a cliff as well. So I think Faker's better than Arya. It's always difficult drafting against T1. They're such a well-prepared team. I don't know who's starting, Gumayusi or Teddy. We'll have to watch out for that. They're both better than Udapon, so I don't really care. Keria, in my opinion, is one of the best support players in the world. He is going to be one of the best support players for the next 5 years, probably. Just extremely mechanically gifted, has the ability to completely take over a game. We haven't seen that in a little while. And their kill participation is generally pretty bad. But it's like a... he just knows how to play the game at such a high level that a lot of the things that they do well don't translate well onto the scoreboard, which is sad. Sad for betting, but sad for DraftKings. But yeah, so I'm picking T1 there. I'm not going against T1 their first game here. EDG against 100 Thieves. So this is an interesting spot. What's the line? $100 Thieves plus 300. Yikes. Flandre against Someday. Flandre is not that much better than Someday. They're comparable. Someday was at one point like an up and coming superstar in Korea, and then went to America for money. Like, you can't blame the guy. Like, did he become a worse player? Maybe. Did he become a less talented player? No. Talent sticks around. Talent is sticky. Jai against Closer. They do go back and forth sometimes, like, which I hate seeing in general. Like, I had that whole rant about the Brazilian team that did that. But they're both better than Closer, I think. Closer is a good player. Closer is good in this meta. Closer has a good champion pool. Closer is going to be able to hold his own as long as his team gives him a good draft and is able to respond accordingly on the map. Scout against Abadage. This is a pretty big advantage in the mid lane for EDG, but again, they have outs with Abadage if they draft well. But if you just said like random champion against random champion, Scout's going to win most of those matchups, or at least carve out some kind of advantage in a lot of those matchups. Viper and Mako are better than FBI and Huhi, but again, in this type of meta, the only time, well, the main time that we have the chance to see somebody get blown out of the water is if like EDG plays hyper carries and then 100 Thieves plays a utility AD carry with like an engaged support. If Closer is like continuously coming bot lane and just punishing the hyper carry. So that probably makes it less likely that EDG does that. They'll probably go head to head with like strong early game champions. I don't think that is their best. I don't think it's the best strat for like from a strategy perspective. I think once we get into best of fives, it's more likely to move towards the hyper carry stuff, or in like tightly contested matches. But they probably think to themselves, just play the game heads up, and don't give away like outs to the other team. So I don't think I'm picking 100 Thieves there, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was a close match. I do want to look for spots to pick teams like 100 Thieves. But this is not it. This is not the time to get cute. Team Liquid against Mad Lions. So Armut against Alfari. Alfari is a better player than Armut. I think everyone knows that. I think that some people will probably not admit that. Mad Lions is minus 188 favorite. Team Liquid's at plus 137. That means that they're at about an implied win rate of 40%, that's just something that you should know going into this. Elyoya against Santorin. Elyoya is better than Santorin. I'll give him that much. He's overrated, but he's not that overrated. Definitely a better player than Santorin. I think that Santorin can like help contribute to a good game if they get a good jungle matchup, but that scares me a little bit. Humanoid against Jensen. I don't love Jensen, but I also don't love Humanoid. The fact that some people are saying that Humanoid's like a top 10 player at Worlds is laughable. It just blows my mind. Jensen does a pretty good job against a lot of these players that people would think they shouldn't do well against. Like Jensen has had good performances against a player like Perks, who is probably just still better than Humanoid. And thank you to everyone who was just triggered by that and is going to scream at me in the comments. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you. I know that we don't agree. Thank you. And then the bot lane, we have Karzi and Kaiser against Tactical and Core JJ. I think that the best player in this bot lane overall is probably Core JJ. Karzi and Kaiser are the better duo. But again, don't forget, I won $20,000 with Team Liquid last year, beating T1. I think it was T1. So don't underestimate Team Liquid. They have good Worlds experience. They know what they're getting themselves into, and they're in a better spot with Alfari over Impact. So I wonder how this game is going to go. I think that Team Liquid's going to try to keep it a low kill score game. Like, I'm probably going to end up betting Team Liquid, but it's not going to feel good. And it could get ugly. But that's why you got to pick them. So I'm picking Team Liquid here. This isn't the play-in stage. The underdogs are not as big of underdogs in a lot of these spots. Like, we're not going to have as many minus 1,600 bet $20 to win $1. Like, just not as many of those matchups. So do that. And then the last game is Rogue against Cloud9. Okay, let's go lane by lane. Otoamne against Fudge. Fudge is the better player. Inspired against Blabber. They're both very good players. I think that this is going to be a very interesting game. I think that it sucks because Cloud9 and Rogue, I think that they could have been like huge spoilers to other teams in other groups, but they're up against FPX and Damwon Gaming, and then they're also up against each other. Like, both of these teams are underrated, and one of these teams is probably going to come away from this group looking like absolute garbage if they both get dumpstered by Damwon Gaming and FPX. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if either of these teams took a game off of FPX or Damwon, but I don't expect either one to get through the group stage. The best case scenario for me is probably if Rogue 2-0s Cloud9 and then steals a game off of Damwon or FPX, because I have that one bet for them being the top European team. So Blabber and Inspired. I mean, Blabber looked okay. We have the Olaf game, so we're in a meta that's good for Blabber. Like, this is not the Farm Fest meta that Blabber struggled in. Olaf. That'll be interesting. I think that T1 could draft, or Rogue could draft themselves into a corner, because I know that Inspired also is like a big Nidalee player. So if they go in the AP direction because they want to play an AD mid laner, then it could be like, oh, well, you picked Nidalee. I'm going to pick Olaf, and I'm just going to overwhelm your entire team. It's just like the easier side of that matchup. Larson against Perks. I still think Perks is a better player than Larson. I know that this year has been really tough for Perks. And I'm not saying that it's like a big difference either way. Larson's obviously a very good player. Larson's better than Humanoid as well. It's just that they haven't had a very good year. But from a talent perspective, like a long-term talent perspective, I would definitely rather have Larson than Humanoid. And then in the bot lane, we have Hans Sama and Trimby against Sven and Vulcan. And this is where the biggest difference is. Hans Sama is a much better player than Sven at this point. The question is, will they draft the right way? Will they draft in a way to exploit that matchup? And like you might ask yourself, how would they do something like that? So if you want Hansama to have a big advantage over Sven, then you want to put Hansama on something like Draven. So I think that Draven will probably get banned out. Hansama is one of the better Draven players at this tournament, and that's not to say that like Hansama is mechanically better than all of the other AD carries, but he is a Draven player. Like, he has more reps on Draven than a lot of other players at this tournament. Sven looked very shaky, and I know that he kind of pulled it together with this last Lucian game, and he was like, oh, I was really mad after I let my team down. It's like, well, that doesn't really matter because the other team doesn't want to lose either. So you're not going to be able to just, like, will your way to a victory over Rogue. So how would C9? C9 would win this game by playing through topside, and Rogue could match that. Like, Odoamne could win a lane against Fudge. I'm not saying that he can't. It's just I think that Odoamne is the weaker top laner in general. But Rogue is probably going to focus their draft around bot lane, and C9 will probably focus their draft around the top side of the map while having a utility carry, a utility AD carry, or the Ezreal. And if they have a utility carry or the Ezreal, that gives Rogue the opportunity to play Draven. It doesn't mean that, like, just because, like, I'm anticipating what they may do. If it happens, it doesn't mean that Rogue is definitely going to win in that scenario, although I think they'd be the more likely team to win in that scenario. So minus 150 against plus 110. I think the top side of the map is more important. I kind of want to pick Cloud9 here just because I'm getting additional value for my money. I do think it's kind of a toss-up. Picking a lot more dogs than I kind of expected to. So I think that's what we're going to do. So just a recap. The first game of the day, there's not a line out there right now. It was plus 100 before, so I'm going to try to get it at plus 100. I'm picking Damwon Gaming as an underdog over FPX. RNG against PSG. I'm picking PSG because they're at plus 240. That means they have to win like 30% of the time. And I think that they can win this game from a draft. RNG has had some terrible drafts in the past. If they don't put Xiaohu on a strong carry champion, or if they just assume that they're the more skilled team, like, they could draft them. They could have a lackluster draft that PSG can take advantage of. I think that the mid lane is much closer than people think. The jungle is much closer than people think. And the bot lane is much closer than people think. And the reason why that happens is because people talk about how Gala might be the best AD carry in the world. That's a joke. He's not even close. Not even close. Then in the Fnatic Homolife match, I'm picking Homolife. That seems like a spot where Fnatic is just being overrated, and I think that Homolife is better in the top lane, probably better in the jungle, definitely better in the mid lane. And it's much closer than the public is going to tell you in the bot lane. I know people are going to say Upset and Hylissang are, like, much better than Deft and Vista. Deft is one of the best AD carries of all time. Like, don't forget that's who we're talking about here. We're not talking about some random AD carry. Genji against LNG. I'm picking Genji in that spot. I haven't seen a line for it on Bet365, so I hope that they actually post something for that. LNG should be the favorite, I think, based off of public perception. But I'd be interested to see whatever they post. T1 minus 500 to beat Detonation Focus Me. Very happy with Detonation Focus Me. Thank you for winning me money. I'm not chasing it anymore. 100 Thieves against EDG. I do like 100 Thieves. I think that this game is going to be a lot closer than the line suggests. But I think I'm just going to go with EDG there. Plus 300. Kind of makes me want to bet on 100 Thieves. I do. Like, if you wanted to put money on 100 Thieves, I completely understand why. I just think that I'm going for the win, not for the value for my money. Mad Lions against Team Liquid. I'm going with Team Liquid. I think that in the top lane, Alfari is better. I think that in the jungle, Elyoya is better. But Santorin still has outs and ways to be impactful in this match. I think that Jensen is much closer to Humanoid than people are going to suggest. And then in the bot lane, I think Core JJ is the best player out of all four. I do think that Carzzy and Kaiser are probably a better combination. But at plus 137, I feel like I'm getting enough value. I think it's more of a coin flip, and I need to lean into my role as a heel where all of the European fans continuously come after me, which is why I'm also picking Cloud9 over Rogue. So I can't wait until tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. Europe is going 0-3. It's an ideal start for the League of Items channel, the League of Items community in general. And that's with Cloud9 at plus 110. Like I said, I think Fudge is better in the top lane. I think that Inspired and Blabber are very close. I think that Perks is better than Larson, but it's very close. And then I think that Hansama has the advantage in the bot lane, but that's the one that scares me. I do like Hansama, and I like Rogue probably the most out of these European teams for a potential candidate to give us value on some of these lines. But I can't give up on Cloud9 at this point. And it's $20. I mean, hey, if you guys are right and I'm a complete idiot for picking Cloud9 over Rogue, it's just $20. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And then I guess just a little bit more of an explanation on the King of the Rift. So the top 50, there's only 100 people. The top 50 spots advance into the second round. 51 through 75th. So you get $600 and then 500. So I won this ticket. The ticket is worth $17.50. I just got a response from Bet365. You're not allowed to bet on teams with players under 18 years old in New Jersey. Okay. And that's why they have that future line that says betting, like, the future is one for who will win Worlds without Dom1 Gaming and Gen G. That makes a lot more sense now. So that kind of sucks. I guess we only have 6 games to bet on tomorrow then. But that's it. All right. Thanks for watching. Good luck tomorrow, and I'll talk to you later.